Life is not a game of chance, it's a game of choice. Let me say that again, your life is not about the hand you've been dealt. It's about how you play it. And how you play it comes down to one thing: decisions. It's not the events that define your life, it's how you choose to respond to them. One decision. That's all it takes to create a turning point, to set a new trajectory, to claim the life you were meant to live. But here's the truth: most people don't want to face decisions. Require courage, they require clarity, and most of all, they require commitment. Think about this: everything you admire in someone who's truly successful, whether in their relationships, their career, their health, or their happiness, started with a decision. They decided they weren't going to settle for less than they deserved. They decided they would take the risks others were too scared to take. They decided they would take control of their own destiny. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They didn't wait for the perfect time, because here's the kicker: there's no such thing as the perfect time. Let's look at your own life for a second. If you're being honest with yourself, how many times have you waited? How many times have you hesitated? You thought, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start next week, or maybe I'll just wait until I'm ready. Let me tell you something right now: waiting is the enemy of progress. The longer you wait to decide, the longer you stay stuck. And the longer you stay stuck, the harder it is to build the momentum you need to create the change you want. What you need to understand is that indecision is still a decision. When you fail to choose, you're choosing to let life happen to you instead of happening to life. And if you're not making choices that move you forward, you're making choices that hold you back. It's that simple. You don't drift into a life of meaning, passion, and success. You decide to create it. So how do you make that kind of decision, the kind that changes everything? First, you've got to get crystal clear on what you want. I'm talking laser focus, no fluff clarity. Most people walk around in a fog. They say, I want to be happy, or I want to be successful, but when you press them, they can't tell you what that actually looks like. Clarity is power. If you don't know exactly what you want, how will you know when you've achieved it? How will you take the steps to get there? You've got to define your vision with precision. What does success look like for you? What does happiness feel like? What do you want to be, do, and contribute? Until you know that, you're just wandering aimlessly. Once you've got clarity, the next step is to burn the boats. What do I mean by that? I mean, you eliminate every escape route, every safety net, every excuse. You make a decision so powerful, so final, that there's no going back. Think about a time in your life when you really followed through on something, when you made a big change or achieved a huge goal. Chances are it was because you left yourself no other option. You decided to do whatever it took, no matter how hard it was, no matter how uncomfortable it got. That's the kind of commitment I'm talking about. When you burn the boats, there's only one way forward: through action. And let me tell you, action is everything. A decision without action is just a wish. It's a hope. And hope is not a strategy. The moment you make a decision, you've got to back it up with immediate, massive action. Not tomorrow. Not next week, no. Why? Because action creates momentum, and momentum is what propels you forward. Think of it like this: have you ever tried pushing a car that's completely stopped? It's hard, right? But once the wheels start moving, it gets easier. That's momentum. The sooner you take action, the sooner you build momentum, and the easier it becomes to keep going. Now let's get real for a second. Taking action isn't always easy. It's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's risky. But you know what's scarier? Staying exactly where you are, waking up 5, 10, 20 years from now and realizing you wasted your potential because you were too afraid to decide, too afraid to act. Fear is normal. It's part of being human. But here's the thing: fear doesn't have to control you. You can feel the fear and do it anyway. Fear is a signal that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. And stepping out of your comfort zone is where all the growth happens. Let me tell you a story. There was a young man who grew up in a tough neighborhood. He had every reason to fail: no money, no connections, no opportunities. But one day he made a decision. He decided he wasn't going to let his circumstances define him. He decided he was going to work harder, learn more, and push himself further than anyone thought possible. That young man went on to become a multimillionaire, a philanthropist, and a leader in his community. And it all started with one decision, one moment of clarity, one moment of courage. So let me ask you, what's your decision? What's the one choice you've been avoiding because it scares you? Because it feels too big, too risky, too uncertain? What if I told you that the life you've always dreamed of is on the other side of that decision? What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the life you deserve is your willingness to decide? You don't need permission, you don't need approval, you don't need a perfect plan. All you need is to trust yourself, to trust that you're capable of figuring it out, to trust that you have what it takes to rise to the challenge. When you make a true decision, you cut off every other possibility, you commit fully. And when you commit fully, the universe responds. Doors open, opportunities appear, resources show up. But it all starts with you. Remember, this life doesn't wait. Every day you hesitate, you're losing time. And time is the one resource you can never get back. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop letting fear hold you hostage. Decide right now to take control of your life. Decide right now to become the person you were meant to be. Decide right now to step into your power and claim your future. When you think about your life and the direction it's heading, I want you to consider this truth: your life is a story, and you are the author. At any moment, you have the power to pick up the pen and write a new chapter. The problem is, most people live as though their story is being written by someone else. They let their circumstances, their past, or their fears dictate what happens next. They let the opinions of others shape their decisions. They accept mediocrity because they don't believe they deserve more. But here's the thing that's not living. That's existing. You weren't put on this earth to merely survive, you were put here to thrive. You were put here to create, to grow, to contribute, and to leave a legacy. But to do that, you've got to stop waiting for life to happen to you. You've got to take control. You've got to make a decision to become the author of your own story, and you've got to write it boldly. The first step in rewriting your story is to stop focusing on your excuses. Too many people get stuck in a cycle of blaming their circumstances for their lack of progress. I can't succeed because I don't have the resources. I can't follow my dreams because I have responsibilities I can't change because it's too hard. Listen, I'm not saying your challenges aren't real. I'm not saying your struggles don't matter. But here's the truth: your excuses will always be there if you look for them. You can either use them as a reason to stay stuck, or you can choose to rise above them. Let me ask you something: who do you admire? Who are the people that inspire you? The people who've achieved greatness in any area of life didn't do it because everything was handed to them. They did it because they refused to let their excuses define them. They took responsibility for their own lives. They decided that no matter how hard it was, no matter how unfair their circumstances seemed, they were going to find a way. They were going to execute no matter what. Execution is where the magic happens. You can dream all you want. You can visualize, plan, and hope for a better future. But until you take action, nothing will change. Nothing. And here's the kicker: action doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it rarely is. The people who achieve extraordinary results in life aren't the ones who have it all figured out before they start. They're the ones who start anyway. They learn as they go. They adjust. They adapt. But they keep moving forward. Now let's talk about fear. Fear is the number one thing that stops people from executing. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. It's the voice in your head that says, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? Let me tell you something about fear. It's not your enemy. Fear is a signal. It's telling you that you're stepping out of your comfort zone, that you're about to do something that matters. And if you let fear paralyze you, you'll never know what you're truly capable of. You've got to learn to use fear as fuel. When you feel that fear creeping in, instead of retreating, lean into it. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Most of the time, the fear is far greater than the actual risk. And even if the worst does happen, guess what? You'll survive. you'll learn, you'll grow. Every failure is a stepping stone to success. Every setback is an opportunity to build resilience. So don't run from fear, embrace it. Let it drive you forward. Now here's where it gets exciting. Every time you make a decision to execute, every time you take action in spite of your fear, you're building momentum. Momentum is what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's what allows you to turn small steps into massive progress. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it's small. It takes effort to get it moving. But as it rolls, it picks up speed. It grows bigger. It becomes unstoppable. That's what happens when you execute consistently. You create a snowball effect that propels you forward faster and faster. So how do you build momentum? It starts with micro decisions. Don't wait for the big life-changing moments to execute. Success is built on the small, consistent choices you make every single day. It's deciding to get up an hour earlier to work on your goals. It's deciding to say no to distractions and focus on what matters. It's deciding to take that one small step, even when you don't feel ready. Each of these decisions might seem insignificant on their own, but over time they compound. They add up to massive results. Let me share a story with you. There was a woman who was stuck in a dead-end job. She hated it, but she felt trapped. She had bills to pay, responsibilities to juggle, and no clear path forward. One day she made a decision. She decided to stop focusing on what she couldn't do and start focusing on what she could. Every evening after work, she spent an hour learning new skills. She started networking, reaching out to people in her desired industry. It wasn't easy. There were days when she was exhausted, when she wanted to quit. But she kept executing. A year later, she landed her dream job. It didn't happen overnight, but it wouldn't have happened at all if she hadn't made that initial decision to act. Here's the point: execution isn't glamorous. It's not always fun. It's often messy, frustrating, and uncomfortable. But it's the only way to turn your dreams into reality. And the more you execute, the more confident you become. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build through action. Every time you take a step forward, every time you face your fears and push through, you're proving to yourself that you can do it. And that confidence becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you believe in yourself, the more risks you'll take. The more risks you take, the more rewards you'll reap. So let me ask you this: what's the decision you need to make right now? What's the action you've been avoiding because it feels too hard, too scary, or too uncertain? Whatever it is, don't wait. Don't overthink it. Don't let fear or excuses hold you back. Decide to execute and do it now. Because every moment you delay is a moment you'll never get back. Remember, execution is what separates those who live extraordinary lives from those who settle for ordinary ones. It's the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. So stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Stop letting fear dictate your story. Take the pen, write the next chapter, and execute with everything you've got. Because your life isn't going to change by chance, it's going to change because you decided to make it happen. Let me leave you with this: your life is waiting for you to take control. The power to transform everything: your career, your relationships, your health, your happiness is already within you. It doesn't require more time, more resources, or more luck. It requires one thing: a decision. A decision to stop being a spectator in your own life. A decision to stop living in fear and start living with purpose. A decision to take massive, relentless action toward the life you deserve. Think about it: one decision is all it takes to change the entire trajectory of your life. That's how powerful you are. But power is nothing without execution. What good is a dream if you don't wake up and work for it? What good is potential if you never put it to the test? The life you want isn't going to show up and knock on your door. You have to go out and create it. You have to demand more of yourself. You have to step into your greatness. This moment right now is your opportunity. Will you seize it, or will you let it slip by like so many others before? This is your time to decide. Your time to act. Your time to take the first step toward a future that's bigger, brighter, and more fulfilling than anything you've ever imagined. It won't be easy. It won't be comfortable. But it will be worth it. Because when you look back on your life, you won't regret the risks you took. You won't regret the moments you dared to dream bigger, to push harder, to go further. You'll regret the chances you didn't take. The moments you let fear win. The decisions you avoided. So I challenge you, make the decision today. Decide to rise above your excuses. Decide to face your fears. Decide to execute like your life depends on it, because it does. This is your story. You're the author. Write it boldly, live it fully. And remember, one decision made with courage and commitment can change your life forever.